come to me with a contract already signed, and I'm like, what have you done? Because they just don't know.
Yeah.
So this is the people who you need on your team. Obviously me. I'm going to give myself a little plug. But finance advisors, so my passion is, finance is the key that enables you to do anything, alright? But I love property. So I've gone and completed my property advisory course. So I use both of those in lieu, together. You need an accountant, a good property accountant. If you need an accountant's details, someone who just looks after property investors, I can give you that name. Solicitor and conveyancer is exactly the same person, except one will charge you more than the other. I have a very good solicitor who actually charges conveyancing fees, so I'm happy. She's a lady, self-employed businesswoman. She's brilliant. But you need them.
With purchasing or selling property, that a solicitor was better, because in case you run into any problems or something, when you had a conveyancer, you ended up needing a solicitor as well. So I just found it was just easier.
Look, I agree with you. There are some good conveyancers. We know some good conveyancers as well that, you know, if somebody says, oh, I'd rather a conveyancer, can do that. If you're buying in companies' trusts and there's a lot of different things, I'd always go with a solicitor. Look, for me, I use her all the time, so she's a solicitor. But so a lot of people say to me, Jo, what's the difference? They basically do the same thing, but the solicitor obviously has the legal behind them in terms of complications. Most conveyancers are connected with a solicitor if there are issues. Your financial planner you need in terms of setting up your risk protection. Remember we talked about the whole risk, the trauma and all of that, because there's no good creating all of this and then you get sick and it's all gone. Income protection, that sort of thing. Your building and pest inspector you need, particularly if you're going to be buying a property that is already established. Again, I've got some good people there if you want some referrals. Your quantity surveyor, if it's a new property or under 40 years old, usually I would say if it's under 20 years old, you should get a quantity surveyor in who will do a report on the property. It's a one-off fee, it's usually around $600, but they go through the building in detail and they do a depreciation schedule so you can claim the most amount of depreciation as possible.
But are they checking the soundness of the building, or just
the quantity surveyor is just the shadow, so the fixtures and fittings. They're doing a price on them as at today, and then how much they will depreciate. So you can give that to your accountant.
So you can use that for forecasting. That's cool.
Yes, for forecasting, but for tax purposes, you can actually claim that depreciation as an expense, which is a non-paper loss. And what I mean by non-paper is that you haven't physically paid it, like you have your rates, your body corporate, those sort of things. Depreciation is expense that you can claim that may turn something from positively geared to negatively geared, so you don't have to pay tax on the profits. Or it may be more negatively geared so that you can claim less tax.
Too many words go in sometimes in the brain goes cha-ching.
That's what you said, it's just turned to Chinese.
Sorry, I'm very passionate about property and I'm trying to give you a big overview. Anyway, there's your interest rates over the last, since 1960 as an average. At the moment, because we've seen some lower, it used to be around just under 8%. Back around 2009 was around, the average was around 8%. At the moment now it's around, you know, guess the average interest rate?
6.5?
No, it's around about just over 7% average over the last 10 years. All right, how are we going for time?
About
1 minute?
No. About another 10.
Oh, okay. All right.
She's got loads of time.
Breathe.
Can I just grab a little bit of water? I'll talk to you very quickly about some property investment strategies, some different things, and this has popped up. So you've got positively geared, all right? So hopefully make that Chinese into some English for you. Positively geared properties is where you buy a property that has the income is more than the expenses, so it's profitable. All right? Thank you. So that's positive, and then with that profit, you then have to pay tax on it, right? Which again is not a bad thing because it hasn't cost you anything out of your hip pocket. And there are properties that can do that these days. Maybe not so much in Melbourne, in prime areas. Traralgon, maybe. So that's positively geared. go through these. Negative is the opposite way. So negative, a lot of people like negatively geared properties because what happens is, I'll just draw you a big picture. So your income here is, let's just go from the property, from your 4% return, let's just say it's $20,000 is what you get. Then all your expenses that you can claim as a tax deduction, and that would be, your big one would be the interest on your loan. Then you've got your rates, your insurance. So whether it's positive or negative, this is the same thing, all right? Agents' commissions, etc. Let's just say that these ones, and depreciation I'll put in here too. Let's just say all of these here equal $30,000, all right? Because they're all separate, but they equal $30,000. This has made a loss of $10,000. So if you look at that loss of $10,000, that equates to about $830 a month, all right? That $10,000 that you physically have to pay, all right? Other than depreciation, but let's just go to $800. Now what happens with this figure here is if you bought this property in your personal name, that loss there gets transferred over to your personal income tax. So if you've earned income of $100,000 basic and paid tax on $100,000, you will then only have to pay tax on $90,000, and that's negative gearing. So instead of this now costing you 10, it may have only cost you 6 because you got a refund check of 4.
Yeah.
All right. So that's negatively geared, and it depends on your strategy as what's right for you. Your other one we touched on was the renovations. So you can look at buying property. So there's people out there that can teach you how to renovate for profit. So you can buy property, renovate and sell it. It's not the most easiest thing to do in this market. You can go in to buy a property for subdivision purposes. So I actually think if you're going to do anything in terms of properties in Melbourne at the moment, if you can find something that you can subdivide in the future, that's a very good strategy of possibly picking up the back land, once you've subdivided it.
3 of those.
Perfect. So developments, so you can buy property to subdivide, and then you can buy and sell the land off, or you can buy property to subdivide. Oh, hello.
Hi.
And do a development. So where you actually do, maybe build 1 at the back, 2, 3 or 4. Now, self-managed super fund is a tax strategy. This is possibly a way where you can avoid paying capital gains tax. So remember before I said to you, when Craig Rich sold his property, he didn't have to pay capital gains tax. If you buy property in your super fund, the ruling today is that if you sell it at retirement age, that there is no capital gains tax applicable. All right, so
that's seriously
That's
long term,
huge.
isn't it?
yeah, well, I mean,
How
I don't
long
know
do
how
you
you
have
are,
to
but
purchase
I'm
it?
not far. Like I'm
Yeah,
40,
I'm
so
there.
for me having that property for 20 years, it's not that long term because I can remember the last 20 years have just gone like that.
How
So
long do you
with
have to
the,
hang on to the property?
Until you go to retirement mode.
But there's also some conditions on how you can buy a property in your self-managed.
100%. You cannot buy property to do a subdivision, a renovation, or a development in your super fund. It is, remember Craig Rich, set and forget properties? That's those sort of properties. So if you wanted to buy a boutique apartment, or you want to buy a house in Mackay, or a unit in Ascot Vale that's going to be set and forget, or you want to buy commercial premises. So maybe you guys go, the office that you're renting at the moment, you go, you know what, this is a really good investment. I want to buy that in my super fund. So there's a lot of laws obviously around that, but it is a very good vehicle because you can still offset some of your taxes from your personal income by making a payment into your salary sacrificing into super.
Sorry, because it just...
Wow.
Having that, does that mean that you've bought the property, like say, I've got my super fund that's just a dollar figure.
Yep.
So instead of having that dollar figure sitting with somebody that someone's investing and stuff, all of a
You can
sudden
buy a
that
house.
dollar figure is bricks and mortar.
You remember
Yes.
we talked about control?
I like that.
You control where you put this. So you have a bank account that would be called the, in my case it's the, ATAR's superannuation fund, and that I'm basically in control as to where I invest my money. And there's very strict rules as to where I invest it. I can't go and invest it in my business. You know,
So you set up
You
your
can't have your
yourself.
house that you're living in your super either.
Not like on Park Health.
It's,
No, I'm
there are
just-
more conditions and
Yeah,
you can only
yeah.
borrow a
Right,
certain
my dad
amount.
does that.
It's quite strict.
Financial advisor will do it for you.
But it's better than it sitting
It's
and
better than
someone
the
body
self-managed
oh, you need it to
funds.
set up
It's
for
better
you.
than
Not
self-managed
do it
funds.
yourself.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you'll need
set it up.
However,
Yeah.
in
Oh,
order
yeah.
to get
Advisor
into
will
a
go,
position
yeah,
in order to buy it, it's quite difficult.
Okay.
Joe?
It's more difficult than
From
buying
it,
it
okay.
outside of your super.
Okay, yeah.
And all this stuff that we're doing today, as in we're going out to buy 3 more properties tomorrow. If you, so
Good on.
I can always use the property I already own and the loan that I'm already on to help do those things.
Yeah, which was back to that other page before about your equity enabling you to do it, because not everybody's got cash. Most
Yeah.
people will pay
Yeah.
into
Yeah,
their
yeah,
mortgage
yeah.
to reduce their mortgage. That gives them the equity. The last one I just wanted to touch on with you was the National Rental Affordability Scheme. This enables you, at the moment, that we've got some properties available in Melbourne, in good like Brunswick, Cheltenham, where you can buy an apartment that is under this particular scheme. Actually, I'll give you a brochure on this, because this turns what could be a negatively geared property into positively geared. If anyone's interested, does anyone want to know? Anyway, you can read it, and then it may be something, it may not be. But this is a government incentive, and it's not for people. Would you like one or not?
Are they all apartments? They're all apartments.
No, they can be house and land too.
Can I have 2?
So it's not for what, sorry?
Thank you.
People that-
This is not low socio-economic housing, so it's not your commission homes at all. This is only available to people who are working, but within a certain income bracket. So it's usually people that are maybe have just come into the police force, just come into as a clerk, as a legal clerk. So the income bracket sits around 35,000 to 50,000. So you've got people who are working, and the benefit is that you actually get a $10,000 per annum check from the ATO. It's around 10K. It's 9,700 something every year, and for you to get that check, which is non-taxable, so it's just cash to you, for you to get that check, you actually have to offer the rent at a 20% discount.
Okay.
All right. Now, if you're buying at that level of say 400,000, 20% discount is around about $2,000 a year less than what you would get if you, depending on obviously the property.
But you're getting 10.
Yeah.
Correct. And not only that, especially if you're buying something like, I'm very sceptical about buying apartments off the plan,
Yes.
because my issue I find is that when it all comes due, firstly the apartment's got to be right.
Yeah.
2 minutes. But firstly the apartment's got to be right, and the second thing is that when an apartment gets finished, you've got all these apartments up for lease. So why would someone rent out yours compared to the other one? So you get all this, and so you might be vacant for a little while. With this, the first thing is they guarantee rent for the first 13 weeks, but because you're offering it to somebody at 20% below who meets this criteria, why wouldn't they
It
go
beats the
to
other one.
yours compared to
Yes.
someone who's not?
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that with these schemes is that if you buy an apartment block, and let's just say there's 50 in there, they will only allocate 3 or 4 of these properties with this. So which ones do you think are going to go first? Your ones. So, and it's a 10-year scheme, so it fits really well with that whole thing. And if you have the 20% deposit, it actually becomes positively geared, which means you don't have to put anything into it. And if you wanted to, you could actually start a debt reduction program instead of doing that interest only. I mean, you could actually start putting principal into it if you
Can
wish
you
to.
buy this with your super?
You actually can. There is a way to do it.
Okay.
So I think that's about
My
it
mind
for me.
is boggling.
Security, and so what is your strategy? Make sure you get your structure right. We'll talk about the security, what we're going to be offering, and making sure, most importantly, that you can service the debts, because it's no good getting them if you can't service them.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's that like?
And I think
Yeah.
that's discipline.
Yeah.
I've read that as
and
will,
you'll.
not that will.
Well, that's the other thing, you need a will, power of attorney as well. They're the two very important things.
Does anyone have any questions for Joe?
Need to make an appointment.
Yes. You're going to be busy.
Do you have your diary, Joe?
I'm busy already.
Have your diary? So you
Yeah, I
No.
can get your diary.
You've got my cards, I've just given you my cards, so if you're interested, just give the office a call or myself a call, my mobile's there.
Cool.
I
Thanks,
don't know about
Joe.
you guys, but I'm feeling pretty inspired.
It was
Yeah.
brilliant.
Thank you.
It was very brilliant. Yeah, it's good.
Lunch for 1 hour, guys, and then.
Can we probably, it'll just give us more time, like
Alright,
maybe.
45 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'd love more time.
Yes, yeah.
30
Lunch
minutes.
for 7.